Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to continue the conversation we started about Colleen Ballinger. Things continue to come out every day, so if any video I post doesn't refer to them, I'm not ignoring anything, I'm not choosing to not talk about anything. It's more a question of gathering information in a way that I deem appropriate as opposed to rushed and maybe getting things wrong, because I have a very deep fear of getting things wrong here. That being said, we have a lot to talk about today. I'm going to be talking about two fans, one of which is Ella and one is Johnny. And Johnny had a situation much like Madam McIntyre where he was a fan who turned into a quote-unquote employee, and there were a lot of parallels between their stories. So we're going to talk about that. And by stories, I mean experiences. To be clear, I use them as synonyms. One quick note, Trent Ballinger, I've seen a lot going around. I'm still gathering information. I will likely make a video covering things related to Trent Ballinger, its own separate thing though, because like I said, still collecting all the information and I really don't want to get anything wrong here. So let us start. We have a young fan named Ella. Now Ella, much like a lot of the people who have come out with their experiences, was a fan of Colleen Ballinger's, a really big supporter of Colleen and Miranda Sings, so on and so forth. Now Ella posted on Twitter describing their experiences with Colleen Ballinger. There are multiple moments here that I think really underline what type of person Colleen Ballinger is, which makes these examples doubly important to pay attention to. So this is the first tweet that I read from Ella that I think should give everyone a good idea of where Ella is coming from, what happened, so on and so forth. It reads, "I'm heartbroken, hurt, and angry. Here are just some of my thoughts. My name is Ella. I've been a fan of Colleen's for years, but in the last 6 years, I've been acutely unwell and in and out of the hospital. She befriended me in 2017 and flew me to Anaheim. I was under the impression that she liked me and she called me her friend. To know that as I was going through hell and fighting to survive, she was shit-talking me behind my back is really beyond hurtful. Why pretend to like me and string me along? I was there for her always and put her first. I sent her fan mail, and when shit happened in her fandom, I always backed her up. Personally, as a human who is conscious of other humans, I'm honest and don't shit-talk people behind their backs for entertainment. I saw the best in her, and she conversed with me in what I thought was a genuine way. Now I know she lies. I gave her all my love, meanwhile she was mocking my makeup, my gender identity, and my health. Her behavior is not only mean, but also wildly inappropriate. Until just recently, I've never spoken ill of her or anything she did, even when I was presented with evidence that painted her in a bad light. All in all, I'm devastated to say the least. And to anyone who is a fan of hers, I urge you to reevaluate your friendship with her. She is not nice at all. No compassion, and all for show. I told my parents, and I'm telling my psychiatrist tomorrow, Colleen is not a champion for mental health or compassionate care. This would have been the end of me a few years ago, but I know I am a good person and have people who love and support me regardless of what an evil 30-plus-year-old feels. I'm kind and I'm brave and I have more to my life than sinking to her level. Anyways, love you all." So this is what Ella posted. I can't really imagine what it must be like to have someone you idolize, someone you're a massive fan of, talking badly about you after the only thing you've ever done is genuinely support them. But I think that I'm going to sound like a broken record if I continue on that one, because we've already established that Colleen Ballinger didn't really have a true appreciation or even a respect for the people who made her career, so I'm gonna move on, but I do think that still. So when we talk about shit talking, we all have a very particular idea of what that means, probably based on our own experiences. What I'm about to share with you in terms of the shit talking Ella endured is a different story altogether. Let me read it to you. Ella posted on Twitter saying, "Colleen said this about me," and there's a screenshot of a DM. So it says, "I just genuinely want you to know this is 100% hand on my heart, things she said to my face on bus tour. I remember it clear as day. We were sitting in front of the hotel, waiting for an Uber. She told me she believed you were faking your illness to get closer to her, and she was in the works of writing a movie about a girl who fakes illnesses to get close to celebrities, and then she gets exposed as the villain. She was writing a defamatory screenplay about you with her brother Chris. This feels so wrong telling you. I genuinely do not want to hurt you with this information. She is diabolical. I'm so sorry, Ella." To back all of this up, there's something else which substantiates what this person is claiming.
Where does the fibromyalgia and the brace come from? Is that from any real life thing?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
So I know people who make up ailments for themselves that aren't real. So fibromyalgia is a real thing, and it's like debilitating for people, and it's like really awful for people who have it. It's really horrible. And
but for Bethany,
Bethany is like desperate to have anyone care about her. And so she's constantly making up these ailments to try to get someone to care about her, and still no one does. And that was kind of her like big flip in the season. Spoiler alert, is that in the end, she actually does end up getting something terrifying, and she needs help, where, you know, she spent her life faking these things for attention, and then she finally does get one. That comes from
a real place in your writing?
Yes. Yeah, in my life. Yeah. Not me, but like I do know people who have done that and have made up things to, you know, which is very insensitive to people who actually struggle with it.
Who?
I'm not telling you.
Okay.
So the whole idea is that here Colleen Ballinger was referring to Ella. I can't confirm that. Obviously, I'm not in Colleen's head. I do not know every single interaction she's had in her lifetime, thank God. It's an interesting coincidence, let me just say that. It's also wild to me that she would go on this podcast or whatever it was and publicly say that. Mainly because unless she's referring to a specific situation where it was confirmed that the person was lying, do you really want to go on the record when you don't actually know if someone is faking an illness and say that they are? Are you okay with that if something were to happen to them? You need to think these things through, because for her, it's probably a small statement of, oh, haha, they want my attention, so they're lying. The accusation is a big one, because people who are struggling with their health every single day, for you to accuse them that they're lying when they're fighting for their lives, is that really something you want to just say lightheartedly, like la-di-da? Just wondering. But again, I don't know if that's who she was referring to. You make of that what you will. So Ella also tweeted, "What an ego you must have to think a fan of yours is faking their debilitating health issues to get to know you better. I wish I was. I wish I could work and wasn't on disability. I wish I didn't have so much medical trauma that I can't sleep anymore. I wish I didn't live in and out of constant hospital admissions. I'm insulted and angry." And then Ella also continued saying, "Honestly, almost humorous that I would go to so much trouble for a quick relationship. This is evil and degrading to my family who suffer with me. Also, she said this years ago and pretended to like me for 5 years after this conversation. How creepy, manipulative, and wrong." I just can't imagine having such an ego that you really think that people are going to claim to have an illness in order to get to know you. Just imagine unironically thinking that about yourself. Unironically thinking, ah yes, I am so special that people are going to lie about something this serious for me. And granted, people are fucked up, so I'm not the person to be optimistic about people at all, but this really speaks to how highly she thinks of herself. So if you guys recall, in the initial tweet I read by Ella, they also mentioned that Colleen made fun of their gender identity. So in regards to that, Johnny, whom we're going to talk about in a second, posted saying, "Okay, Colleen, you want to play? Let's play. Look what I found." It's you bashing one of your biggest fans at the time this was sent. "We used to make fun of them for editing fake freckles on their face. Remember? Then you made fun of them for being trans/gender fluid." And here in the screenshots, we can see Colleen being like, "Oh my God, breaking news." And then there's a screenshot. I'm assuming it's the picture. Freckles are gone, and she references herself as she again. So it's wild to me that Colleen, first of all, would even go out of her way to take the screenshot to send to another fan turned employee. But it's also weird that she would go to another fan of hers and be like, "Hey, look at this fan. This fan's dumb. This fan isn't trans. They're not whatever they say they are." Like, it doesn't make sense on multiple levels. Now, obviously, I think we've established that from like an emotional standpoint, quote unquote, all of this is cruel, it's mean, and unnecessary. That goes without saying. But even if we go back to Colleen Ballinger and Miranda Sings as a business, these are all stupid business decisions too, because it's like all of this could be screenshotted. obviously, but it's also like, do you really want some of your fans to think that they're above other fans and that you're gonna shit talk other fans with them while not realizing that at some point these fans are gonna turn against you too because they're gonna think that you're shit talking them as well? Does that make sense? So like, I don't even understand what the long-term goal here was. The short term was probably to make specific fans feel special, which worked because of course, they're young people, kids really, and they're gonna be flattered that their idol is talking to them and telling them things that are gossip slash secrets slash whatever. So it works in the short term, but really I don't know what this was, what the long game was here. And I think it's really alarming that a 30-year-old or even someone in their late 20s wouldn't for a second stop and be like, first of all, why the fuck am I talking to a 13-year-old? And second of all, why am I shit talking young fans of mine to other fans of mine? Like, for what? And I understand it all goes back to manipulation, but how do you justify that to yourself? Then we have John, who has been going by Johnny online, so I'm going to refer to him as Johnny. So Johnny, who tweeted the screenshots showing that Colleen was making fun of Ella, allegedly. He was a big fan of Colleen and he was in the fandom at the same time as Adam, though in Adam's video, he said that they didn't really interact or know each other prior to now. And even now, I think they just had their first conversation about 10 days ago, if my timing is correct. They quote unquote knew each other in the sense of they were in the same group chat and that's it. A lot of their experiences align. Let me read you a brief description of Johnny and Colleen's relationship based on an article that Johnny had linked on his Twitter. John was Ballinger's tour assistant on her 2018 summer tour. He told Passion Fruit, which is the name of the publication, that when he was a freshman in high school, he would spend hours on the video site Tiny Chat with Ballinger, her brother Trent, and other members of her inner circle. Only select fans were invited to the chat room, and Johnny felt she had groomed and abused him with her behavior. We were all between 14 and 17, and they would play favorites, Johnny said. They would tell people they were their favorite behind closed doors. It was this Hunger Games rat race to see who could be the favorite fan. He attended his first live show at 15 in New York and was soon traveling across the country to around a dozen Miranda Sings shows. In 2018, when he was 22, he claimed that he joined her tour, getting paid between $120 to $140 for 12 plus hours of work a day. I did the dirty work nobody else wanted to, Johnny said in a June YouTube video sharing details of his story for the first time. It's evil, manipulative, and I can't stay silent anymore. So Johnny also shared pictures of himself with Colleen, and these pictures really serve to show you how young he was when all of this quote unquote began. In these pictures, he's 12 and up. It seems like things really started when he was 16 in terms of really interacting more in depth, I suppose you could say. So he worked on the Miranda Sings tour in 2018. And in this video, there's more to the story, my experience with Colleen Ballinger. He explains how things escalated on the tour and how they started to get really bad really quickly.
What Adam has spoken about in terms of what happened with his situation with Colleen, I think what hit me so hard is just realizing how many similarities I've had with her throughout our friendship, work experiences, my employment, like any situation with her. These similarities in the situations are jarring, a bit uncomfortable with how similar a lot of the conversations went down between the victims and her. It's really gross, and I think today, just getting that DM a little while ago from Josh, it struck a chord in me and made me realize that these people are still trying to have this hold over me and the people who they do these things to, and it's wrong, it's disgusting. I was 15 years old when all of this started happening, and that has been acknowledged. And I think the grossest part is how inadvertently the blame is still somewhat being shifted towards me because I was, you know, a young, impressionable, naive teen at the time, and, you know, I didn't know boundaries and everything. And, you know, yes, I was a child, I was a teenager. There were probably some moments that I'd look back on and I'd be like, ooh, yeah, you know, but I was just excited over the fact that, you know, me being a kid who had no friends, who got bullied out of school, who was just looking for some form of connection with people, like, and the fact that I found that with people I idolized and like had this community, it was addicting. I didn't want to lose that. I, up until recently, have still been protecting these people because I wanted to believe that the connections I had with them, the friendships, the interactions, they were authentic and they were genuine, but they just never were.
So in this video, he also addresses Josh, so Colleen's ex-partner. That's the partner that Adam McIntyre said he forgave for their own things. And in Johnny's video, Johnny refers to the fact that he's glad that Adam McIntyre forgave Josh, but that Josh was pretty horrible to him, actually, and that Josh was just as bad as the other people there. And in fact, Johnny made a video titled, "Let's Talk About Joshua David Evans." In that video, Johnny discusses obviously his experience with Josh and how Josh treated him. We're gonna look at parts of that video. So a really heartbreaking aspect of all of this is that Johnny describes his relationship with Josh. Josh very much positioned himself as the older brother type. So he would tell Johnny, you know, if I make it big, I'm gonna hire you, I'm gonna take you on tour with me, whatever. So there were these big dreams being sold. And there was also this, you know, when you think of big brothers, you think of a protective nature of sorts, which I kind of wonder, is that a guise? Because naturally parents would feel better with someone who is being protective of their kid, right? Someone who would step in as a big brother figure and watch out for their kid. So I'm wondering about that because Josh positioned himself as a family friend as well, which makes this even worse in a way because it's like infiltrating a family and duping everyone in order to make everyone feel comfortable around you so you can be around their kid and have access to them in a different type of way than some random person. Does that make sense? So I'm going to show you a clip from Johnny's video referring to all of this.
But if we want to talk about boundaries, Joshua David Evans, let's talk about boundaries, shall we? Because when I first met you guys in person at this point, we had, you know, been tiny chatting, which is essentially Zoom, but like big group chats. We had been doing that, Twitter, Skype, you name it. But when I had finally met you guys in New York, why is it that I don't know boundaries, Josh, but you were the one to sign this crown with Colleen and Miranda, and then you not only signed it, but you continued to open it up and write in it, and when I opened it, I'm not going to show the whole thing, but that looks like a phone number to me. That's your phone number from 2012 at least. Why did you give a 16-year-old your phone number? And then why are you in my DMs on Thursday morning telling me I didn't understand boundaries?
So in this video, another disgusting and almost unbelievable because of how stupid and gross it is. In the video, Johnny shows the paper crown that Colleen Ballinger and Miranda Singh signed, and Josh wrote his number in there. Now, I want to know personally, in what world, aside from the power dynamic, which is obvious and I don't think I need to say it every 5 seconds, in what world are you, a grown man, giving a 16-year-old your phone number? For what? What is the purpose? Why did you have to do that? It's a very weird thing to do. So I'm going to talk as a content creator for a second here. Giving out your phone number is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And the reason why I'm pointing that out is because that really hit me, because it shows that you have a level of detachment, not necessarily from reality, but from what's appropriate. Because first of all, you shouldn't be talking to a 16-year-old in any type of way, and you shouldn't be giving them your number, period, because the implication, no. Okay, there's no reason for that. Giving out your phone number specifically stands out to me, and I'm sure a lot of other content creators relate, because first of all, it's so easy for you to get doxxed like that. Like, someone could just decide to give out your number. Second of all, a lot of the times your phone number is related to your address. I know, because that's how I've gotten doxxed multiple times. So there's that. So even just the fact that he was willing to take the risk of potentially being doxxed in order to give his number to a 16-year-old, like, that is a big risk to take. And for what? And that's why I'm underlining this. It's a big risk. Anyway, we could also account that to just being mind-numbingly stupid, but I'm just gonna put that out there. So aside from that, in this video, Johnny also refers to the fact that he recently got a DM from Josh after 8 years, I think it was, of silence. Because Josh basically ghosted him, and you'll get more information on that in the clip I'm gonna include in a second, but out of nowhere, Josh reappeared.
The next time I heard from him is 8 years later, on Thursday. It says, "Hey Johnny, in the midst of what's happening, someone brought your tweets to my attention. I wanted to cut straight to the point and apologize. I won't ask you to keep anything private. You deserve closure and respect, which is something I don't think you ever received. I should have never said you could tweet for that Sarah account. I shouldn't have let it manifest into something unhealthy for you. Letting you tweet for that stupid little Twitter account was nothing serious in my head. Never thought of it as a real thing. It was absolutely real for you though. You had your own exact version slash replica of that account that you made on your own, and I thought it wasn't a huge deal to say you could take over. I didn't want to spend more time on it myself, simply because it felt like a fun hobby to me. Regardless, it wasn't okay. I didn't care about that account a lot. So I was like, cool man, by all means, go for it. YouTube wasn't even my job then, and it doesn't excuse anything. As you know, my following got bigger and I eventually abandoned it altogether. I stopped looking at it until someone mentioned you had tweeted that you were done with it. Genuinely, I didn't even think that you were still using it. I never asked for you to work for me, create a schedule, or even how to tweet from that account. I rarely even checked up on it. I understand now that it wasn't anything like that for you. I was naive and oblivious to what may have felt like, I can't read. I was naive and oblivious to what it may have all felt like to you. You were too young for me to have given you access. We spent time and had dinner with your family while I was working at the auto show. I loved hanging with your family. You clearly wanted a deeper connection, and then I ghosted you. I didn't know how to tell you that you shouldn't be waiting around after shows to say hey for a bit. It felt okay at first, but then became too much of a thing. For me, it felt innocent, but to you, you were too young to understand boundaries. That was absolutely my responsibility. Instead of being straight up with you, I just slowly slipped away. I ghosted you because I didn't know how to tell you it was getting excessive. All of this feels clear to me now. I was in the wrong. You felt abandoned or disregarded. That's the honest truth. I never would have done it if I fully understood how it would end up. Your heart mattered then, and instead... Jesus Christ, dude. Your heart mattered then, and instead of handling it head on, I thought you'd lose interest and move to something else. That was incredibly wrong on my part. You were you were young and deserved transparency and protection. I straddled the fence on being like an internet big brother to you, and also feeling like it was becoming unhealthy for your well-being and development. This doesn't erase anything that you felt or went through. I thought you were a great kid. You seemed like a lot like I was as a teen. Okay. When anyone ever says that, that's like a red flag. You seemed like I was a lot like when I was a teen. One of my teachers said that to me, who is a piece of shit, and he's in jail now. So don't say that to people, because it's not like, it doesn't make, no.
So it felt okay to befriend you. It wasn't okay. I should have never interacted with you beyond some tweets and saying hi at meet and greets. You deserve a happy and healthy future, Johnny. I played a role in messing some of that up. My hope is that this apology helps you see you were never in the wrong. You wanted a friend, that's it. I gave you the illusion that I could be that friend, which at the time I genuinely thought I could be, until I became, oh my God, this novel, my brain is melting. I gave you the illusion that I could be that friend, which at the time I genuinely thought I could be, until I began to realize the amount of attachment that you were feeling. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not being upfront about why I ghosted you. I'm sorry for letting you take over that account. I'm sorry for never giving you the closure you needed. I was ignorant about how to navigate that dynamic. That wasn't your responsibility to figure out. It was mine. Wishing you nothing but the best, man. I hope you and your whole family are thriving and enjoying life. You each deserve it. I said, I can't say I'm surprised that you're in my DMs right now. I appreciate some of the self-awareness in your apology, but let me make this very clear. You did not know boundaries. I was a teenager, and yes, I was extremely naive, but you're the one who sold me a fantasy you couldn't uphold. You just liked the attention. I was 16 when you gave me your phone number in New York City. I didn't even ask for it. I still have the crown you wrote it on. You looked me and my loved ones dead in the eyes at saying things like I was a brother to you, that if I ever made it big, we'd work together and you'd take me with you, etc. You gave me, a hopeless teen at the time, all this false hope and you will forever be so wrong for that. I told you my dreams and you milked them for your own ego and benefit. My family tried to warn me about you all those years. You were a grown-ass man. I was a child. I should have listened to them, but I looked up to you so much. Subtly insinuating that I was some obsessive weirdo fan who didn't know boundaries is fucked. Let me refresh your memory. You did ask me to run that account because you liked the account I was running prior to @SarahDiculous. You asked, friend of ours, to run the official account that you created because you thought it was her running that OG one. Once she told you it was actually me, that's when you came to me and asked me to run it, so I did. Don't act like you didn't encourage it and egg me on. That stupid account is the least of it. The reason I held onto it for so long is because I was trying to prove my worth to you. You seem to forget a lot of things you did and said to me, but I'll never forget. You would never hit me up to apologize if this shit didn't start coming to light. You are just as guilty as the rest of them. You'll never understand the negative impact you've had on my life, let alone during some of my most vulnerable years. You used to literally say shit like, come to my show in California and insinuate that I'd be coming as a friend or guest. Then you would act shocked when me, someone who thought they were your friend, would come to California to see you. Shame on my naive self for believing the lies that were fed to me. And that's just one example. Why would you make promises to someone you had all these mixed feelings about? You were always giving broken promises and you never stopped. You say I felt abandoned and disregarded. I literally was. It's no feeling. It's just a fact. The day you removed my channel from yours after your divorce with Colleen was announced, I immediately woke up and realized you were full of shit the entire time. This is just damage control and I see right through it. I stayed silent for all these years to protect you and the rest, but you're all the same. Everything was always at the expense of my emotions. I'm just not buying what you're selling anymore. You guys chose to act this way and now it's coming back to bite. I begged for closure and you never gave it to me. 8 years too fucking late.
So as you can see in the video, there's an attempted apology, I guess you could call it, but Johnny shuts that down because a lot of blame was being placed on Johnny about not knowing boundaries, which is like a kid. Why would a kid know boundaries? You're the adult, you're the person in power. Why would it be on the kid to know? So Johnny pushed back, as you saw, and then Josh apologized, I guess, in a quote unquote better way, if we want to call it that. But there was some type of acknowledgement, which is more than we can say for Colleen Ballinger. So the bar really is below planet Earth at this point in terms of expectations, but it still shows that this entire group of people, in my opinion, I just don't know how it happens that out of all these adults, no one until now, until they're outed, until they're being called out, mind you, thought that these things were inappropriate, or no one thought they would get caught, which is crazy to me. Both of those are simultaneously crazy to me. And especially with a certain level of fame and notoriety, or a certain level of diehard fans, especially because when you're younger and you're a fan of things, you tend to be less controlled and less discerning in terms of gauging who exactly you are a fan of, right? You don't expect a 12-year-old to analyze someone's moral compass. The fact that all of these people were simultaneously so blasé and so whatever about their interactions with their fans, I don't even know what I can say about that, because I am consistently mind blown in the most disgusting way in regards to all of this. Anyway, you guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Everything I referred to will be linked down below between tweets, videos, articles, and so forth. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.